Hi everybody, I'm doing a video with a little bit of a difference today, and this is about why a lot of young women are not interested in having children. Now, it's actually somebody else that asked me to do this video, and I thought I would kind of confront it head on because I don't normally have these kind of, make these kind of social or political statements. I deal with diet. The diet that I am using, I call it Kate's Keto because it's my own version. It's not exactly keto, but it would lean on that side. Low carb, only cruciferous vegetables, rocket leaves, eggs, bacon, beef. Of course, beef would be my favorite thing to have regularly, but I don't have the budget. So I have to mix it up a bit. I do a lot of cheese myself. I'm quite a vegetarian person. So I don't really mind how the protein. I don't do protein powders. I do take collagen. I take marine collagen and I take bovine collagen. I take bovine collagen for my joints and marine collagen for my skin and nails, but I don't take marine collagen that often. But somebody asked me to do a video about why a lot of women are not interested in having children, and I kind of feel it was the same when I started college, that we were encouraged to have careers. A lot of our mothers had stayed at home, people were having less children, and there was a little bit more money about, and we were, of course, had the fantastic opportunity of going to college, which our predecessors didn't have. And there was a kind of a big push towards career. What a load of shite. And I see it happening all the time around me, and I don't really like getting involved in the debate because I'm like because you're going to come off badly one way or the other. Are you a feminist or you're not a feminist or whatever? There is nothing unfeminine or unfeminist about having children. I would say to everybody, the most you should do what feels right for you. There's so much of the group mentality that kind of pushes us away. I certainly know what happened to me. I finished college, went and got my job, and there was a big kind of anti having children movement, even from a lot of the parents. I'm not saying specifically my parents. I'm one of 9 children. My parents did not discourage me from having children. I think they thought it would be maybe par for the course, but they didn't encourage me. They certainly never said, having children is wonderful or whatever. But I do think there's a lot of, I see it online a lot of young women, and it was exactly the same in my day, where you've been liberated from what? I have children. It is my absolute uh, glory. It is the thing that makes me tick. I absolutely love having children. I loved being pregnant. I was sick during pregnancy, but nothing. I far preferred being pregnant. I loved having children. Every single thing about it was the best thing that ever happened. I was definitely a career woman before that and was sold the lie of the career. There's nothing wrong with having a nice job. There's nothing wrong with being paid well, but it's very unfulfilling in a lot of ways. So I do agree with, that with the person's comment when they made it to me, that would you make a video about having children, or why young women are not inclined to have children or seem to be deterred from it. I think a lot of it is the environment and people going, maybe, oh, we deserve it. Spend money on yourself. Children aren't that expensive. Um, they really aren't, and there is nothing more satisfying. And I have had 5 natural births. I had to tell the nurses that it was more natural to have the child in the squat position. Now, that part might not be for you. And believe me, when I got pregnant, I was terrified, like everybody else, of having the baby. And nobody really wants a baby because your own suitor. It was a fantastic experience. A fantastic experience. How empowering. I'm also married. Being married and having children is the most empowering position I believe that I can be in. I am very empowered. I think there is a lot of anti having children, you've no freedom. Like, that's a load of shite. It's a load of shite. You have more freedom. You have more reasons to get up in the morning. It's just fantastic. There are no downsides. No downsides. Yes, we have more privilege, that we are wealthier than our parents were and our grandparents, who might have had a lot of kids. Like my grandparents didn't have a lot of kids. My grandparents on my mother's side only had two daughters. Oh, my mother is the oldest, and her sister has since passed away. My father's mother had and father had seven children. I think it was seven, six or seven. Uh, yeah, four boys and four boys and two girls. So six children. No, four boys and three girls. And his mother died in childbirth, which was a bit more common. This is my grandmother, who I never met. So that was a little bit more common back then. That's why I believe you should have your baby in a hospital. Like, I am quite liberal in one way, but I am very traditional in other ways. I think we should have our babies in hospital. There's a reason we go to hospital for the babies, because if something goes wrong, you're right there. Of course, yeah, they're all, like the nurses are like lie in the bed. The doctors are like lying. I never saw a doctor my whole time. Once I saw a doctor when I was having any of the babies, because I was public. I went public. I didn't have any private. You know, you can pay for private. I was public. I was in the cheap seats. I didn't see a doctor except once, because my first child was really big. I had him naturally standing up. I had gas and air, which I think they're going to take out. I thought it was great, to be honest. Nothing like a bit of drugs. But anyway, I probably shouldn't say that on YouTube. But I had one tiny tear because the nurse wanted to give me an episiotomy, which my mother had said, if there's one thing, and she didn't give much advice, believe me, my mother was not a woman for giving any kind of advice. She said, because I kept badgering her, and I said, is there anything? I was reading every book under the sun. I'm a very good researcher, so I was well prepared. I wasn't prepared for the obnoxiousness of the medical staff in terms of lie in the bed, lie in the bed, lie in the bed. Because I thought, I'll go in, it'll be all set up. I'll stand and have the baby in the squat position, which is the natural position. No, it was completely, no, why would you want to do that? So anyway, I had this 10 pounds 5 baby, very big fella, standing up. I squatted. The nurses had to go down on their. In fairness to them, they gave in and went down. Now the matron was like a firebush. I actually had to get her removed from the room. And this was my first child. And but luckily my husband was such a brilliant support. Like, you need a champion with you. He was a champion, a champion. We had agreed beforehand what I would do, and I'm not a bit controlling. But anyway, the two nurses were underneath, because of course the hospitals, they're not set up for a squat position at all. It's all marble floors and all this shite. Like, for fuck's sake, put a few carpets in. They had these kind of little things that soak up stuff on the bed, you know, if you wet the bed or anything like that. There are these kind of sheets. So they had them on the floor. But like, afterwards I was thinking, he could have hit his head off the floor. Like, this is the type of stuff, you know, I didn't really account for, because I thought the hospitals were set up for natural birth. So anyway, he came out with a few pushes. I had a great time because I did not have the epidural. I did have the epidural a couple of times later out of curiosity, but I had it so late I actually could still feel that child coming out because I had the epidural. Even the doctor said it's a bit too late for the epidural, but he still gave it to me. I had terrible trouble afterwards. You know, you can't stand up. When you have your... Anyway, so back to the first guy. I had him naturally. I had a tiny tear, but the nurses were so unused to natural tears that they had to call in an obstetrician, a doctor, a baby doctor, to stitch one stitch. I had one stitch. This is how the body is designed for giving birth. We're not designed... That would have actually healed on its own. But of course, you know, in the hospital, they're obsessed about all this stuff. You have to really know your stuff. You've got to be in control of your experience. I wish I had been in control of my diet. Now, that's where I did fail in life. But anyway, let's move on from that for the sec. And he came in and he misheard the nurse. And he assumed I had the epidural, because at this stage I was lying on my back. and he dived in with his needle. No epidural, no pain relief. Well, I never, the whole hospital heard me scream. Your man, he nearly died. But anyway, he got local anesthetic, then it was all sorted. But it actually would have healed. I've read more about them afterwards. Those little natural tears, they heal away fine. Of course, you're going to have some kind of scar tissue. But yeah, so um, it was such a great experience. I could not recommend it more. I adore having children, and I think that women are sold a lie about this feminism. And like you can still have all your nice things. For me, certainly, there's nothing better than having children. And I think that I had lots of friends who went to college who were also, some of them had bitter mothers who kind of said to them, oh, go look after your career, look after your money, buy your own house, don't be dependent on the man or whatever. I'd like, it is lovely to stay at home with your kids and stuff like that. It's actually quite hard to be fucking going out to work and having. Now, I will say, when my children were small, very small, taking them to the baby minders was probably the best thing ever, because I picked a baby minder who had other children. She had her grandchildren who were fabulous little kids, and they got on like a house on fire. My kids, even though we were living in Kerry, we it would be the Cork jerseys would be on our kids because of my husband, and then they would be wearing the Kerry jerseys. There's a big GA rivalry in Ireland, so we would have such crack. They were very socialized from that, so it was really, really good when they're very small. But it's, of course, it's hard for the woman to leave your babies with somebody else. But of course, it definitely worked out better. I don't know about kind of creche stuff, but I sent them to a private baby minder. But definitely, it's still going on. I see a lot of it like, oh, I'm so fussy about no man is perfect, no relationship is perfect, no child is perfect, no parent is perfect. Parenting will bring out all your worst fears, but I would do it all over again. If I had a choice, I would have had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more. I wish I could have snuck them in, but we don't live in that world where you can have as many as you want. But I definitely would have had loads more. But look, I'm happy with what I think, that you can have it all. You can have it all. You don't have to settle for one or the other. You can have a career. Some of my friends didn't have children in time. Some of them had children pretty late and ended up with only one or two, maybe wanted more, and then had some challenges. Definitely keto diet will help you if you have any PCOS. I would go keto, or even do fast for a day or two and get up your estrogen will lower, and then it'll go boom high. You'll be so healthy to conceive. So was I healthy? I was back then, I suppose, because I was a single girl. I was having the crack, and I was doing a lot of walking. You get into all these walking clubs because you're filling your time. This is before I had kids. I was in a tennis club, so I was very, very fit, I suppose, which is why I didn't seem to have any problem getting pregnant. But I definitely see now with keto that there is a lot of really good stuff for getting pregnant and stuff like that, and getting rid of PCOS and all that other shite. I mean, the sludge that was in later on when my diet became worse, because I was probably just eating too many white carbs. I was very kind of vegetarian, vegan shite. I'm so glad now that I have discovered the ketogenic diet. And I'm in no way perfect. I mean, last weekend I had a McDonald's. All week I've had wine because it was coming up to Easter. But I'm all or nothing. Like, I'm one of these people, it's a feast or a famine. I wish I was one of these people that could be regulated every day. These women I see online, they drive me mad. And they do everything, and their weight is always the same. I'm like, I'm like a rubber, something tied to a rubber band. I'm up and down. The weight goes up a few pounds, down a few pounds. Then it goes, but it's not the weight. With the ketogenic diet that I do, it is not the weight I'm worried about. It is my blood results. I've had 3 blood results since I started ketogenic diet 2 years ago. They are amazing and got better. So I have I mean, when I started, I must have had cardiovascular risk and everything. Now I have nothing. I am very, very, very healthy, and I am going to be able to pass this on. And I do these YouTube videos to record this kind of information. But lads, you can have it all. You can have a job because when you have kids, it won't matter, and you don't have to give them everything. I I don't give my kids everything. I just say to them, you don't have this, you don't have that. So be happy with your life. I'm One of the great influences of my life is I had a brother who died when he was 10 years old. And every day of my life, on the days I feel blue and they come, believe me, I say I will live because he didn't get a chance to, because he didn't. I remember one of the last times I saw him, I was only 6 years old, and he did not want to die. But cancer, he died of cancer. It's an awful death, an awful illness. Should never have happened. Probably wouldn't have happened nowadays. But listen, get up and get over yourself. If you feel depressed and you feel blah, you feel like nothing's happening, go out and take a hold of life. Take a few risks. Having a baby is a risk. Getting married is a risk. But it's the empowerment within that. As a woman, you are completely empowered. I don't know why people think that you're, under the, especially nowadays, we have so much choice and opportunity, even compared to our parents. And we're not comparing apples and oranges. They didn't have the same advantages we had. My mother and father never got to go to college. Very few people did in those days. They had to work. They had to get on with it. My mother was a stay-at-home mother, but she worked very, very, very hard. So to contribute to the farm, she was milking cows, she was doing everything. So look, you can have kids. Go and have a few kids. Bye.